What are some common misconceptions about what casting directors do and don't do?
Oh, good question. I think that a pretty big misconception is that we are the deciding factor, and we're not. I always say we're a little bit more like Tim Gunn, in that it is our job to really work and support and advocate for the actors and try and get them to, make their best dress. And then also sit on the side with the directors and producers and say, our opinion on the work that they're doing. So I think we're a lot more in the middle of both of these things than I think people think. I don't think of us as the gatekeepers. To me, we're so much more a part of the process for both sides than I think a lot of people understand.
Mm-hmm. So talk about the self-tape versus the Zoom versus the in-room.
I miss in the room. I think most people do. I know directors do. None of it is better this way. The only thing that's a little bit better seems to be convenience. And convenience is good. I appreciate that. And that I think, we can see more people. But I think that more often than not, especially if trained actors, you're not trained to self-direct. That's different. And so I think everyone is missing out on the benefit of the directions. I've been amazed. I'll be completely honest. I'm amazed how often actors do not take us up on the Zoom auditions. It is rare that we have full sessions when we offer, many hours. It's rare. And I think that that's a part of just the convenience of at this point, actors have gotten used to being able to pick their own one of 10 takes they did, and they, can curate that a little bit better. But I think you're missing out on us giving you the notes. But also, I think Zoom auditions suck. You're worried about you're worried about the camera and where do I look and what's happening here and what if my cat comes into the frame, which I always love, by the way. Never worry about that. If an animal's in the frame, we're happy about it. It's so much harder to concentrate as an actor in a Zoom audition, and I do know that. And you don't know if there's been a little glitch in your internet, and it can suck.
Do you have any advice for actors that feel that they're good actors but are terrible auditioners?
Say yes to the Zoom audition and just get better at it. It sucks to say that, but you can't get the job without it. And so it really just is a part of it. And I would also say to stop telling yourself that you're bad at it. That would be the biggest thing is the more times you say that you're bad at it, then you're bad at it.
When I was casting something, I found that I was getting actors who were sending me kind of overproduced tapes. Do you want your actors in a car for a scene that takes place in a car? Do you want them in a shower when they're in this?
I definitely don't want them in the shower. I do not want the shower.
I've literally seen that.
I don't care, to be completely honest, besides the shower part. I want an actor to do whatever feels the best for them to give the best performance. I do know that I have had teams. The Billions team didn't like any of that. They wanted it to feel just like an audition. They didn't want you to set. They don't like props. They didn't, don't want you to eat things. They wanted it very, very simple. And because of that, I just said so before this, I just let everyone know so that they didn't do all of that. But honestly, it doesn't matter to me. I know there are directors who love it. And I've seen some remarkable auditions that are set up in a car. And I've seen some where I'm like, oh, you were working so hard on the car and eating that apple and smoking that cigarette that you miss the entire scene.
How often are you casting actors that are just coming to an audition or auditioning for you versus folks that are already in your brain for stuff?
I don't really know the percentage. I will say it just to, it's a small group where I'm just going to be very honest here. It's been a lot harder since the pandemic. Pre-pandemic, I didn't do tapes. I rarely was watching tapes and casting people that way. I was meeting people in the room, and so I could vouch for those people. I could say, well, I worked with them. I did this. And that isn't exactly how that works anymore, which is frustrating. We still do, all of our auditions. We offer the slots to do Zooms and try and get to know more people that way. But
that's all right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you prefer?
It depends on the project too.
Okay.
I would say. And the type of the filmmaker I'm working with. Some of them can be very, very specific of really what type of actor they want. And so if it is someone I don't know at all, that can be a little bit harder to vouch in that way.
How much of your time would you say is spent tracking new talent, finding new talents, sort of seeing what people are doing and where to find folks?
I mean, I would say a good amount of my time is spent that way. I try and see a couple of plays in a month. Henry, my partner, is at the theater almost every night between New York and LA. And then, but I do watch everything. And it doesn't really matter kind of what network. I'll sit and watch the CW, and I will watch HBO, and at least to get an idea of who's in a new show and kind of what, even if I'm not watching the entire series, I'll watch a little bit of something so that I have some ideas. Yeah. I had a great experience this past year. I did a TV show for FX where for the first time that I have ever encountered, the FX said we do not want a single known person. It's 5 leads and discover all of them. And that was, maybe at least 6,000 to 8,000 tapes more, because also all over the world. It wasn't just the United States. And not even just everyone represented. This, it's a comedy and a very specific type of comedy. So that is going into UCB and Groundlings and other, in different cities, there are different comedy groups. And watching YouTube videos and Instagram and just seeing however different ways people are putting comedy out there into the world, we were really trying to track that.
What would you say? Is there a difference between casting a TV show versus casting a small indie versus casting, or is it similar stuff? What's the difference?
No, it's all very different, actually. Mainly, well, a TV show, you're not worried about trying to get money for it. It already is financed. But that also means that there are a lot more cooks in a kitchen. There's a studio and a network oftentimes. And then there's other producers involved. And the writers are a lot more involved in TV. And oftentimes, actually, in TV, I'm not, the directors change in a long-running show. It's not the same director the whole time. And a lot of limited series, you do end up working with directors doing multiple episodes or all of them. But for a long-running TV show, that switches. So it is, working with different types of personalities, different tastes, and a very different approval process. For indie film versus a bigger budget film, for the indie film, it's a lot more work than all the three. An indie film is the hardest work of all of them, because we are usually the very first call, and it's our job to try and help the filmmakers get the film greenlit to begin with. So that is kind of the process of attaching names that can get financing, and then kind of going from there and trying to, it's different budget levels. So it is asking actors to do sometimes some really, really hard work for very little pay.
Are directors, producers, are you finding that they're wanting actors with more social media presence, or they don't care?
I do not care. I acknowledge that there are producers that or financiers who sometimes care about this. But here's what I'm going to say about that, is that I think that there is a difference between a social media presence and an influencer. An influencer is its own job. And when there are like financiers that are saying, well, we want someone that like has, the high number, whatever, they want the influencers. It isn't an actor who has, a couple of thousand followers and like posts things like, hashtag audition life. Like that doesn't matter.
So audition life doesn't work?
Audition life doesn't work. And I think, like, actually, I've seen that work to an actor's disadvantage. Because then sometimes we're learning a little too much about you. And you want to keep a little bit of the mystery alive. If there's more of an influencer type person in this room, great. You might work. Like, it can work that way. But that is its own job. And I personally would rather hire someone that is going to acting classes and working on their craft and doing that than someone that is like trying to sell makeup.